When they see you, they gon' see me. An accomplice we will be. We will be one love. We gon' last forever, babe. One love. I don't want another lover, babe.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha and this is my first YouTube video. It's basically gonna be a rundown on, you know, how I found out I was pregnant when I was 14 years old to giving birth when I was 15, how my parents found out, and there are a lot of details to this story, so I might not go through all of them. This is Alaya. She is almost 9 months old, so we're gonna be talking about how I found out I was pregnant with her and, you know, everything leading up. So basically how this all started was back in 9th grade, towards the end of 9th grade. To skip ahead a little bit, I was introduced to a boy, her biological father, through a mutual acquaintance at the time. So she was like, oh, you know, maybe you can get to know my friend a little bit. And so at first I didn't want anything to do with him, but she was like, you know, how about you just become his friend? So I'm like, okay, you know, there's nothing wrong with becoming somebody's friend. So, you know, she gave me his number and we started texting. So, you know, we're texting every day, we're getting to know each other, we're FaceTiming. So even though we had never met each other in person, we were still catching those itty-bitty feelings for each other, and that obviously grew into something it shouldn't have been, because mind you, I was 14 at the time and he told me he was 17, which was a lie because he was 18, and I had found out that out later on. But anyway, so, you know, we're texting every day, we're communicating, you know, we start to catch these little feelings for each other. And then one day after school, I asked my parents to stay after to be able to go to my friend's house, but I was also going to meet up with this boy, so it's gonna be the three of us hanging out together. So after school, you know, he drives up to the school. Me and this other girl that I was hanging out with hopped in his car, which is something that you should not do if you do not know the person very well, or if you do not trust that person. Don't just hop into their car, which is a mistake that I should never have made, but it is too late to take back now. So, you know, we hop in his car and we go to the park, which is literally right down the street from the school that I used to go to. And so all three of us are just hanging out, and it's just casual, you know, we're talking, hanging out, chilling. So maybe an hour and a half later, my friend says that she has to go home to do something. So, you know, we let her go off and it's just me and the boy in the car. So he's like, you know, what do you want to do? And I'm just sitting there because this is the first time I'm meeting him, so I'm a little shy. So I'm like, I don't know, what do you want to do? And he's like, you tell me. So we're just sitting in the car. Both of us are in the front seat and we're just sitting in the car going back and forth trying to figure out what we're going to do. And so, you know, right off the bat, he just starts feeling on me. I'm not going to go too much into detail, obviously, but, you know, he's just feeling on me, giving me compliments. So, you know, I feel good. I'm like, okay, you know, this is all right. And next thing you know, he says, get in the back of the car, which is another mistake that I have made, because it is the first time that we're meeting with each other and he tells me to get in the back of the car. Why would I listen to him? But I obviously made that mistake and I can't take it back now. So I got in the back of the car and, you know, he hops in the back with me. So we're in the back of the car and, you know, we're sitting there and we basically get ready to do the deed. So he takes his pants off and I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait, what's happening here? Because, you know, you don't have any protection and I don't want to get pregnant because I'm only 14 years old. And guess what he says? He says, oh, don't even worry, I'm unable to have kids. And so I'm like, what? You can't have kids? And he's like, yeah, I already went to the doctor. They told me I can't have kids, so you don't have to worry about that. Which is yet again another mistake that I have made, because it doesn't matter. I was not on birth control. Why would I even believe somebody when they tell me they can't have kids, whether or not it's true? You should always be careful. So yes, he told me he cannot have kids and I obviously believed him. So basically we do the deed, obviously, So, you know, a couple weeks go by, we are in a relationship. He is my boyfriend, I am his girlfriend. But I'm thinking he's 17 years old, and I'm thinking, okay, 3 years is not that bad of a age difference. So I'm like, okay, he's 3 years difference, that's not bad. So, you know, we're in a relationship, so we've already done the deed once, so, you know, we keep doing it. And, you know, one day I just noticed that there's something off about my body, and you can tell when something's not normal because you can just feel it. And I don't exactly remember what it was about me that was off. Maybe I was nauseous all the time, or maybe I was just a little bit too tired and I just noticed that something wasn't right. But I just noticed that there was something off about my body, and so I'm searching up the symptoms, and everything is like pregnant, and I'm just getting scared. I'm just like, there's no way I could be pregnant, because he told me he couldn't have kids. And so at this point, I'm freaking out. So I just keep searching. I'm like, okay, maybe there's really something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not pregnant. Maybe those are one of the symptoms of being pregnant, but I'm not pregnant. So I'm just searching up the symptoms. I'm like, okay, what could this possibly be? Because I'm not accepting the fact that I'm pregnant. But still, everything is coming up, pregnant. So I'm just, at this point, I'm just so scared. I'm scared. And, you know, I'm thinking, okay, there's a possibility I could be pregnant, but I have to know. But I didn't have any money. So I had called up or texted one of my friends, and I'm like, can you please do me a favor and get me a pregnancy test? And that's what she did. So the day that she had got me a pregnancy test, my parents were not home. So she had walked down from the store to my house and gave me the pregnancy test. There was 2 in a box, so I took one, and it was March 25th, was the day that I took the first pregnancy test, and it came out negative. And so at this point, I'm like, I'm not pregnant, thank you, God. I don't know what I was so scared for, because I knew I wasn't pregnant. I just knew I wasn't pregnant. But there was still, even after I took that pregnancy test, there was still something off about my body, and I knew that it just wasn't right. And every time I searched up the symptoms that I was having, it would always come up pregnant. So, you know, I took the first pregnancy test March 25th, and it was negative. And then maybe a couple days later, me and my boyfriend had did the deed, and then a couple days after that, I took another pregnancy test, the second one in the box, and it came back positive, and the day was April 2nd. So it comes back positive, and the moment I see that plus sign, I just lost it. I'm crying, I can't breathe. I'm like, how is this happening to me right now? Never in a million years would I have thought that I would be pregnant at 14 years old. And I'm just thinking, like, what do I do? So the first thing I do is call up my friend who had bought me the pregnancy test, and I'm like, I'm pregnant, what do I do? And then she's like, she can't really, she can't understand what I'm saying because I'm crying so hard and I can't breathe. She's like, Sasha, calm down, you're hyperventilating, I can't understand you. And I'm just like, and she's like, take a deep breath. And so it takes me a couple minutes, but I finally get it out. I'm like, I'm pregnant, what do I do? And she's like, she's trying to comfort me. She's like, how did this happen? I thought you said you wasn't pregnant when you took the first pregnancy test. I'm like, I don't know how this happened. And there was just so much going on, so many emotions. And at that point, I was just like, abortion has to happen. My parents cannot find out that I'm pregnant, because the way that my parents are, I knew they was gonna flip out. So I'm like, no way, I have to get an abortion. So I text her biological father, and I text him and I say, I'm pregnant. And I guess for some reason he didn't read my text correctly, or something was off, but he was like, oh, don't worry, you're not gonna get pregnant. And then at that point, I'm just upset. Maybe it was the hormones, or maybe it was because I'm just mad that he lied to me and said he couldn't have kids. But I'm like, what are you talking about? I just told you I was pregnant. And I'm just going off in the text messages, and he's like, what, you're pregnant? I don't believe you. So guess what I had to do? Had to get the pictures, had to send it to him for him to actually believe that he got me pregnant. And I'm just so upset with him. But at the time, he was still my boyfriend. So I mean, I was mad, but I was forgiving. And I was like, how could you do this to me? And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I know I wasn't thinking. It was just a joke. But to me, that just doesn't make sense, because how can you swear up and down that you are not able to have kids, and I asked you multiple times and you kept saying that you couldn't have kids? So that's not a joke. That's not something to be played with. That's not funny. So yes, I'm upset, and we're talking about it, and he says, well, first I tell him I want to get an abortion because the way that my parents are, they can't find out. And then he's like, oh no, please don't get rid of it. Ever since my dad died, I wanted a little baby boy, which he's not even a boy, but he was like, oh, please don't get rid of it. I really want to keep this baby. And I'm on the other end of the phone like, no, I'm not getting an abortion. First of all, you shouldn't have got me pregnant in the first place. And I'm not going to put the blame on him because So I'm not gonna sit here and put the blame on him because it takes two to mingle. But I mean, I'm 14 years old, and you're an older individual, and you know better than to tell somebody. So I mean, basically he was just using me, because that's just not right. That's just not right, because he's older than me, and he knew what he was doing. He knew he was lying to me. He basically just wanted to get in my pants and do what he wanted to do. So that's basically what was going down. We're arguing, and maybe a couple days or like a week later, we're talking, and he's like, oh yeah, Sasha, I agree with you. You should have an abortion because I'm just not ready to have a kid. And so I'm like, okay, well, you agree with me that I should get an abortion, so you have to pay for it because I don't have a job, you have a job, and you're the one who got me pregnant. So if we both agree that I should get an abortion, you need to pony up the money. So he's like, oh, no, I don't have the money for that, because an abortion is like $375. So I'm like, no, you have a job, you have to pay for this because I don't have a job, and there's no way I can abort this child without your help. Long story short, he didn't help me. He didn't give me the money. So basically, at that time, my best friend had agreed to help me pay for the abortion after I had told him that I was pregnant. So I'm like, no, I can't use your money. I can't take your money. An abortion is really expensive. And he's like, no, Sasha, I want to help you. You're my best friend. I don't want you to go through this. And, money is not everything. So I'm like, after a while, I agreed. But I mean, I never ended up getting the money because, he always had something more important to spend the money on. And I'm just like, I would never complain or never just be like, oh, but you said that you was going to help me. Now you don't. Nah, I was just like, okay, that's fine. Long story short, I didn't get the money. That was just it. I didn't get the money. But I did appreciate him trying to help me. I did appreciate his effort. But obviously, God didn't want me to have the abortion because everything that I had planned out since the day that I found out I was pregnant didn't work out. And it obviously didn't work out for a reason. So, I took the test April 2nd. And, time is going. A couple weeks later, I'm keeping the secret because, I just can't let my parents know that I'm pregnant. I just can't do it. So one day, I go down to the fridge to get something to eat. And my mom, she's just sitting there in the chair. So, I mean, she's sitting there and she's asking me, she's like, Sasha, when is the last time you got your period? And I didn't think anything of it because, sometimes she just comes out and asks random stuff like that. So I'm like, oh yeah, I got my period, last month, the end of the month. And she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. Lying my butt off. But I lied to her and I said that I got my period last month. So it's the next day and I'm in school. I'm not in my class that I'm supposed to be in. I'm in the class across from my class. And all of a sudden, on the loudspeaker, they say, is Sasha Hamilton in here? And the kids, they're thinking I might be in trouble. So they're like, oh no, she's not in here. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, what is going on? And then the next second after, the person on the loudspeaker had left, I get a call on my phone and it's my mom. And I'm like, hello? And she's like, hey, where are you? I'm like, oh, I'm in class. And she's like, come down to the main office. So I'm like, okay. I hang up. And I walk to my class and I'm like, I asked my teacher, I'm like, did you tell the people on the loudspeaker that I was not in your class and I'm in the other class? And I was just asking him because I'm thinking maybe I got in trouble for not being in his class or something. So I'm trying to figure out why my mother's here to pick me up. And it was just so crazy. I was just so confused, but there was a little feeling in my heart that I just knew I was going to get caught that day. And so I meet her down at the main office, and she's like, all right, let's go. And I'm like, where are we going? And I keep asking her, I'm like, where are we going? Where are we going? And she's like, don't worry about it. And at that moment, I'm like, oh yeah, something is up. There's like, why isn't she telling me where we're going? And so I'm like, we get in the car, and then I'm like, Mom, where are we going? Where are we going? Because I'm so scared. I just want to know we're going like to the store or something like that. And I'm like, where are we going? Where are we going? And she's like, to the doctor's. And I'm like, you didn't tell me I had a doctor's appointment. And she was like, Sasha, I don't need to tell you. And so we're driving, and I'm so scared. I think I was texting somebody who was like, oh my goodness, I'm on the way to the doctor. She's going to find out I'm pregnant. We get to the OBGYN. We get in there, and, you know, she's looking calm right now. She's looking calm right now because she doesn't know that I'm pregnant. But, you know, they call me back, and they want me to pee in a cup. I'm in the bathroom, and I'm just trying to figure out any type of way. I'm like, okay, how do I get this to turn up negative? Do I put a little bit of toilet water in there? Do I dilute my pee with water, or what do I do? And I'm like, oh, I'm like, this is it. This is the end. She's gonna find out. They're gonna test my pee and find out I'm pregnant. So I'm like, I might as well. I pee in the cup. I put the cup in the little thing, and I go out into the waiting room. So they call us back, and the lady calls my mom out of the room, and they're talking, and I'm trying to listen, and I'm just so scared because I know she's gonna flip out. And my mom walks back into the room to grab her purse, and I can see that she's been crying. You know, her eyes are red, her eyes are watery, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, she told my mom that I'm pregnant. And I'm just like, I'm just so scared. So I'm scared. The woman comes back in the room, and my mom is in the hallway, and the doctor comes into the room. I'm like, you told my mom I'm pregnant? And she's like, yes. And so I'm just so, at that point, I just start crying because I know my mom's gonna just be so mad. So she's talking to me. She's like, you know, we're gonna have to get you on some medication. We're gonna have to do this and that. We're gonna have to set up appointments for you. We're gonna have to find out how far along you are. Mind you, this was the end of April. So I found out I was pregnant April 2nd, and the day that my mom or my parents had found out was the end of April. So I only kept the secret for 3 or 4 weeks. So my mom walks back in the room, and the doctor leaves. And she just sits down, and she's crying, and she's like, who is it? Who's the boy? And I'm just like, and I tell her who it is, and I'm crying because I don't know what to do. I don't know what they're gonna do to me. I'm thinking I'm gonna get what? I'm just thinking the worst possible thing ever. So she's asking me all these questions like, Sasha, you need to tell me. She's sitting there getting mad, and I'm crying, and she's getting upset. She's like, you need to tell me, where did you guys do it? When did you do it? How many times did you do it? How old is he? Where does he live? She's just asking me all these questions, and some of the questions I can't even answer. And so, of course, she told my father, and everything was just going downhill from there. I'm thinking that my life is over, my whole world is about to crumble, and it's just bad. So, you know, I end up finding out that I'm 7 weeks on that day. So we're in the car about to go home, and I'm thinking, I'm like, are you gonna take me back to school? And I'm back there crying because I do not want to be around her right now. I don't want to go home to my parents. I just want to be as far away from them as possible. So I'm like, are you gonna take me back to school? Can I go back to school? And she's sitting up there like, no. And she's texting my dad, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm about to get the biggest whooping of my life. Because my parents had told me not to have sex until after I'm married, and I ended up getting pregnant at 14 years old. So, you know, we go home, and I'm so scared to walk through that door because my father's home. So I walk through there, and he's just, you know, he's talking about me, and I'm really, really sensitive. So for him to say those things about me and me be right there, I'm crying, and, you know, I'm standing there. He's like, Don't cry because you did this to yourself. We told you not to have sex, but you didn't want to listen to us, and now you're pregnant at 14. And I'm just, I'm just crying. I have nothing to say for myself. And you know what he ends up saying? My father, he ends up saying, you know what, Sasha? I'm not even surprised. I'm not surprised. When I found out that you were pregnant, I wasn't surprised at all. And I don't even think anybody knows how bad that hurts, because he didn't even know that I wasn't a virgin. So for him to say that he wasn't surprised I was pregnant, it hurt, obviously. And so he's like, Sasha, I knew this was going to happen sooner or later. I just didn't think it was going to happen this soon. And, it's just bad. And there are a lot of details that I'm not talking about right now. But, throughout the whole pregnancy, it was just bad. Our relationship, me and my parents' relationship was bad. We stopped talking to each other. I would get in trouble over every little thing. I would get in trouble for saying stuff that just, nobody should get in trouble for saying those things. It was just crazy. My whole pregnancy, I just felt depressed. I felt like my only support system was my brother, because, the day that my brother found out I was pregnant, he did ask me, why did I do that? How did that happen? And I'm like, bro, I don't need to hear this, because, mom and dad are already giving it to me. They're already saying all these things. Everything that you're saying, I already heard. And so he's like, all right. And, he could tell that I'm really upset and I'm really sad. And so he just, from that day forward, he just let me be. So, I felt like he was my only support system throughout my pregnancy. Whenever I felt like my parents didn't believe in me, or they just, was saying those things, he would come to me and be like, Sasha, I believe in you. You're going to be successful. It doesn't matter whether or not you have a baby at your age. You're still, you're still going to do big things. You're still going to be successful. And that really, yeah. So, yeah, I did feel like he was my only support system. So, I don't feel like this would need a story time. I might make this a story time, but during my pregnancy, I was taken to the police. I didn't want to go home. I did run away. I might make a story on running away, but I did run away. It was just bad. I was crying all the time. They tried to press charges on the boy, but he was 18 and I was 14, but it wasn't a 4-year age difference. It was like 3 years and some change. So they couldn't press charges, so they just let him be. And I did get my phone taken away because my parents found out I was pregnant. So I didn't have any contact with the boy. I would have contact with him every now and then on somebody else's device. And one of those times, I just have to add that in there, but one of those times I was texting him and I told him that I didn't want him to be in the delivery room with me because I would feel uncomfortable. When my parents found out, they told me to put him on child support. So I'm like, that's what I told him. I'm like, oh, my parents want me to put you on child support. That's when everything turned bad between me and him, because he just started cussing me out. He threatened me. He said he was gonna shoot up my house. He was like, oh yeah, I should shoot up your house. I'm gonna find out where you and the baby stay, and I'm gonna take her or him. And at that point, I'm just like, yeah, we're done. Why would you even say that to me? Why are you cussing me out? Why are you disrespecting me? Why are you being selfish? Why are you doing all of this? Why are you a liar? And he had the nerve to ask if we were still going to be in a relationship. And I said, no, we're not going to be in a relationship, because I wouldn't be happy being in a relationship with you. And he's like, oh, you're effed up. You're a B. This is BS. And he's just calling me every name in the book. He's just saying all these things about me, and we were done. I just didn't want anything to do with him anymore. That's where that ended. So if anybody asks why I'm not with the baby father anymore, that is the reason. Well, the main reason, at least, why we're not together. I do plan on making a labor and delivery story time on how, the process of me giving birth, because everybody wants to know, did it hurt? Did you get epidural? So I'm going to do all of that in another video. I made this video because when I was pregnant, I was searching up all the videos, 14 and pregnant, 15 and pregnant, 16 and pregnant. I just wanted to hear everybody's story. I wanted to know what their parents did and all of that. So, I mean, if you're a teenager and you're pregnant right now, you can watch this video. I mean, not every situation is the same, but you can watch this video and at least get an idea of what happened and how everything went down for me. I hope that you guys like this video. I know it's not the best, but the main reason why I made this is because a lot of teenagers are getting pregnant nowadays and they want to know what you went through just to get an idea of what they might go through. So I hope you liked it, and I will see you in the next video.